Lynyrd Skynyrd National Monument. Oh man, I got to go see this. I'm getting goosebumps just chilling out down here. Let's see. Lynyrd Skynyrd Monument Project fan lives here. Man, the goosebumps, dog. Ah, the free songs. Shoot, the free songs, they say. Hey, free songs. Man, like, oh, this is crazy. I'm gonna pause it. Some backwoods Mississippi roads, man. Check it out. How y'all doing? (7364) Easley Road. Oh man! Oh wow! Look at that! Would you look at that? Goosebumps. The best of Lynyrd Skynyrd's songs never faded in the years since the crash. The music speaks to the life in the American South, but touches on the universal themes of nonconformity, freedom, love, loyalty, betrayal, and loss, transcending geography to reach fans across time and location. In 1987, on the 10th anniversary of the crash, band members who survived the accident, Gary Rossington, Alan Collins, Billy Powell, Leon Wilkeson, Artemus Pyle, reunited for, I'm nervous, reunited, hold on, for a tribute tour. Also on the tour were guitarist Randall Hall and earlier member Ed King. Collins, unable to perform on stage due to a prior car accident, acted as maestro to the group. No one could completely fill the absence created by Ronnie Van Zant's untimely death, but his musical younger brother, Johnny Van Zant, would ably take on the duties of lead singer for the reformed band. In addition to the timeless music they made during the band's classic era, from 73 to 77, the group has recorded more studio albums and many live compilations with a changing roster of musicians since the accident. Lynyrd Skynyrd was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2006. As a marker, dedication, the band has sold over 28 million records in the United States alone. That number will surely continue to rise. Amen. All I saw was treetops. Billy Powell. I heard this interview. Him and Artemus was talking about it. The flight was doomed. That autumn day had otherwise been beautiful, with the late afternoon light slowly fading to dusk in the sky from which the plane fell. In the warm early evening of October 20th, 1977, a chartered twin-engine prop plane carrying members and crew of the popular musical group Lynyrd Skynyrd crashed in the forest near this marker. Several passengers were killed, including charismatic frontman and founder Ronnie Van Zant. Eyewitnesses on the ground had sighted a plane flying low, much too low, over the treetops. By the time the plane hit the trees, word was already spreading in this corner of Amite County, Mississippi. Within moments after the crash, as evening descended, farmers, hunters, and other volunteers converged on this area, carrying blankets, flashlights, and other tools for what they reckoned would be a grim, urgent undertaking. The tragedy occurred because the plane had run out of fuel, so there was no fire or smoke to signal to the rescuers the crash exact location in the wooded obscurity. However, a helicopter had been dispatched to the emergency, and it was from this chopper hovering above the trees that the volunteers were able to track to the downed plane. In the darkness, the main light available to the first responders was a giant spotlight beaming eerily down from this helicopter that floated above the wreckage for a long time while rescue workers worked below. The absence of fire, plus the speedy actions of the volunteers on the ground and the medical staff who assisted them at local hospitals, were factors behind most of those aboard the plane surviving. But the dead were lead singer Ronnie Van Zant, guitarist Steve Gaines, backup singer Cassie Gaines, sister to Steve, assistant tour manager Dean Kilpatrick, pilot Walter McCreary, and co-pilot William Gray. 20 of the 26 passengers survived, most with serious injuries. So what I know about this is Dean Kilpatrick and Walter McCreary, who were the pilots, were one of them was decapitated, and just his body was hanging out of the plane. But oh God, I couldn't imagine. See, the middle one says, Let's get a little closer. See if you can read that. Pre-crash, rise of the simple man. In '64, Skynyrd began humbly in Jacksonville, Florida. The founding members jokingly named the band after a gym coach, Lynyrd Skynyrd. Eventually, after numerous police interruptions of the band's loud and rowdy practice sessions, the group moved their rehearsals outside the city limits to an un-air-conditioned one-room cabin they nicknamed the Hell House. In the sweltering southern heat, the band solidified as a tight musical unit. Guitarists Gary Rossington, Alan Collins, and Ed King formed what would become known as the Three Guitar Attack. Billy Powell provided keyboard and piano accompaniment. Bassist Leon Wilkeson and drummer Bob Burns established a backing for it all. Helming the show, Ronnie Van Zant sang about fighting or loving with equal passion. In '73, their debut album, Lynyrd Skynyrd, pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd, announced the group to the world. Like other albums to come, this introductory work contained well-crafted yet musically unpretentious songs for and about the common man. Tracks like Simple Man, Chooses Gone, Give Me 3 Steps, and what would become an anthem for fans across the globe, Freebird. Demonstrated the band's ability to mix melody with hard-driving rock and roll. In a few short years leading up to the crash, Lynyrd Skynyrd released music that has become a permanent part of the rock lexicon. Their self-titled debut, followed by 4 other studio albums: Second Helping, Nothing Fancy, Give Me Back My Bullets, and Street Survivors. This last album, released just 3 days before the plane crash, would eventually reach the highest record chart ranking of all their work. Because I'm free as a bird now, and this bird you cannot change. The Last Flight of Freebird. On October 20th, 1977, the band were in the early stage of an ambitious tour to play Street Survivors, flying from Greenville, South Carolina, where they had played a show the night before, to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to a scheduled concert at LSU. They don't say it, but I noticed where they were going. That would never be. The members of Lynyrd Skynyrd had every reason to feel elated. They now performed for larger audiences throughout the United States and beyond. The checks were bigger. Assistants attended to them like royalty. They were in their 20s. They must have seemed invincible. While the group were in top form, they chartered air transportation was tragically not. The day before the doomed flight, suspicious about the plane. The day before the doomed flight, suspicious about the plane, a Convair CV-240 were apparent. The company that owned the ailing aircraft had scheduled it for maintenance soon, and some band members had considered taking commercial flights to their next performance. But alternate flight arrangements were never made, and repairs would never come. On its final flight, above the thick green canopy of trees that cover this part of the state, the aircraft began to run out of fuel. Thinking they would never make it to the airport at Baton Rouge, the pilots aimed the sputtering machine toward a closer airfield in Macomb, Mississippi. But even that emergency objective was too far. When the aircraft stalled and glided lifelessly down into the trees, one witness reported the sound it made was like boom, boom, booming of railroad cars colliding during hookup. Near the tree-thick site of the crash stretched an open pasture where the desperate pilots had hoped in vain to make an emergency landing. At the accident, many of the rescuers, in the heated rush at the moment, did not recognize the victims. Among the wreckage were members of the band Lynyrd Skynyrd. One of the rescuers recalls wondering, "What's a bunch of hippies doing on an airplane? They don't look like they can afford a ticket." Even some who recognized the band may have been confused in their excitement. One of the witnesses at the scene informed others nearby, "That's Lynyrd Skynyrd's plane, but don't worry, I think Lynyrd made it out okay." Jeez. Donations. I'm going to sign that here in a second. Special thanks to Dwayne and Lola Easley. Oh, check it out. They got Wi-Fi out here. Wi-Fi. More to view on back of monument. Oh, check it out. Oh, look at that. Steve and Cassie. She's pretty. Oh, look, that's the Convair that wrecked. You know what? About this Convair, they offered it to Aerosmith. Aerosmith turned it down right before Skynyrd took it. Isn't that something? ding, ding, and ding. And they don't have the 2 pilots. But it was their fault. Jeez. Sad. My cigarette went out. Oh well. Let's go leave them some donations. It's the Wi-Fi.